What's going on, guys? Kivox here, and welcome to your extracurricular activity. In this video, we're going to be categorizing the wands into their different classifications. I usually go with 4 different styles of wands, and then obviously each has its own characteristics and each has its own variation, but it still falls under that same category. And then also you can do a little bit of some combos between all of them, but it's kind of, it's like categorizing a car into a coupe or a sedan, but then you have something like a 3-door. Is it a coupe or is it a sedan? It's somewhere in the middle. Obviously, we have the wands that are kind of like that too, but for the most part, we should be able to categorize them all into these 4, if not maybe 2 of the 4 together to make, you see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going with this? It's a little complicated, but for the most part, the four should be enough. It technically should be enough. And in this course, we're most likely also going to be talking about design. So how to take it from design to actually making the wand. Also, the different styles of woods and possibly what they mean. Obviously, not all of this is going to be in this video. I'm going to be separating it into the future course videos. So hopefully you guys go check those out if they're already out. This is a new idea that I had. So for the day, I'm going to be your professor, and you guys are going to just hopefully learn something from this and enjoy the video. When it comes to wands, the way that I like to look at them, at least from the Wizarding World's perspective, is that wands are the kind of the wizards or witches' lifeline. It's their line of defense. It's their everyday tool. It's pretty much everything to them. When it comes to looking at it as one of the most used tools and a weapon, I like to consider them basically the equivalent of swords or guns, I guess, nowadays. But let's stick with the sword because they're more shaped like swords than anything else. Maybe daggers. That being said, we have to go over the parts of a wand. And a lot of people just call this part the shaft and this part the handle. Yeah, that's fine, but there's a lot of other parts to the wand itself. What I like to do is take all of the parts from a sword and translate them into wand form. So we have the pommel, we have the handle, the guard, and the blade. The easiest way to do it. Everybody knows those terms, everybody knows what they are, and the wands themselves pretty much always fall under that category. This is my personal wand. This is my favorite wand I've ever made, and it's just, I don't know why, it's super simple, but it's my favorite wand. It has all the parts to the wand, but they're also in the right ratios. So I would say this is about 60-50% of the wand, and then the handle is here. We have a guard and we have a pommel. None of them are really crazy, exaggerated in any sort of way. So this is what I consider a conventional wand. As you can see here, we have a few styles of wands. Basically, this is going to cover all of the main styles of wands that we're going to go over and that you guys are going to hopefully be making. Some of these are from the movies and they're the Noble Collection wands, and then some of them are the ones that I've made. So for the most part, these are going to fall under all of the different categories that you guys should ever have to make. So let's start off with, obviously, moving some of these aside. Let's make some space here. Okay, there we go. Good job, nice. So here we have, like I said, the conventional style wand with all the different parts to it and in a nice, even ratio. Harry's wand, and you can see that it is that same style. It's a little bit longer than my wand, but the ratios are pretty similar. You could see here we have the handle, the pommel, the guard. This one has a little bit something different on the actual blade itself, where we have this other part of the bark, I guess, the different layers of the bark. And that was I believe the concept for this was we have the inner bark, and then we have the outer without the rough on the bark, and then we have obviously the full bark part right here, which this is kind of weird because trees don't actually look like this when they're this small. This looks more like bigger bark, like off of the main part of the tree, as opposed to a small branch. but it looks really good. I'm not sure how they made the real one, but as you can see here, we have another conventional style, has all the different parts, and it looks great. So now that you understand the conventional style, let's move over to a traditional style, which is a lot of people that make wands, they make traditional style wands. They make them on the lathe. That is a big part of traditional. That's why I call them traditional, because when people first think of a wand, this is the style of wand that they think of. It's probably my least favorite style. It pulls the least amount of creativity from anywhere. It's the most boring style of wands. So that being said, I'm sorry to all of you guys that make lathe only style wands with not a lot of character. You guys just bang them out as fast as you could. Anybody could do that. So that's why I don't like it. Here we have Ginny's wand, which as you can tell, it is very, very straight. It still has somewhat of a conventional style, minus the guard. It almost has a artificial guard because there isn't actually a guard there, but you can see where the blade meets the handle. So you can kind of consider, if you want, this part right here the guard, but it's technically not coming out, or it's just a little different than the actual handle. If anything, I would consider this whole piece here the handle, so we would still have somewhat of a pommel, mostly handle and mostly blade. If you want to look at another wand that is similar to that, it's Hermione's wand. Unlike what I was just saying, both of these wands do have extra detail in them, but I would still consider them a traditional wand just because they are the very straight style with a little bit of engraving or carving to give it a different feel, but the profiles of them are still very, very straight, and if you pull back far enough, it just looks like a straight stick. And that's kind of what I consider a traditional wand. Now, if we look at one of the ones that I created here, you can see it's similar, right? But now we do have a little bit of a separation between the blade and the handle. This one has a handle that is up higher, and then it also has a much smaller blade. So it's almost 50-50 if you were to compare them. This is almost directly in the middle of the design compared to over here. So the guard is a little bit offset from the traditional style. These are what I would consider more of a traditional style wand, and I feel like traditional isn't bad. It just kind of falls under not as unique as other things. That's why whenever I make something like this, I always try to add in extra little details. I'm not a fan of wands that are made 99% on a lathe, as you guys can probably tell. I usually only make things on lathes if I want to have a very nice straight shaft, kind of like how I did here, where it was nice and straight. I still went in and kind of made it less straight just to kind of give it a little bit more character. I feel like I'm taking a little bit too long on these, so let's move on to the next style, which would be the non-conventional style wands. All right, so let's start off with one of the wands from the movie, and it is Victor Crumb's birdie wand. I believe it's an eagle or a falcon or something, but I would consider this non-conventional, as you can tell, because of this very unique, beautiful, very nice, very. You don't see this a lot. Here's another non-conventional wand. Again, whenever something is non-conventional, to me, it means it has a lot of bends, it has a lot of characteristics that are not normal or really usable in any way, because try putting that in a pocket and not getting stabbed and or bleed to death. They're both beautiful wands, but not very usable for this guy. And then this one's it's a nice subtle bend. We don't really have a lot of craziness there. They're always a little bit weird to hold. When it comes to mine, again, it's mostly the ones that have strange bends in them, which are what are gonna give you some weird designs. So this one, we have another strange bend there. This is actually one half of the original twin wands that I made. Honestly, one of my favorites. Basically, you still have the general divides, if you want to call it that. You have the general parts of the wands here. So we have obviously the handle is somewhere here. That's what makes it a non-conventional, because it doesn't really have a pommel. Like, you can't really consider this a pommel here. It's more of, you know, you have a blade and a kind of a handle, but not really anything else. Same thing goes with this guy. Ooh, this looks kind of cool like this. Look at that. Huh. Interesting. It's pretty much what we have here. Look at that. I just realized that this has a weird design to it. Look at that. It's a weird, very similar to this guy. Huh. But obviously, we kept it nice and straight here so that we could stick them together. But this is what I would consider a non-conventional. Anything that is not a generic, regular shape, mostly straight. Anything that you start adding some weird curves to them, I would consider non-conventional. Unless most of the wand is straight and then we have a little bit of a bend at the end, I would still... It would be on the fence on where that would fall, and if it would actually fall under being a conventional / traditional. It really all depends. Probably wouldn't be traditional, probably more of a conventional if it just has a little bit of a bend. Obviously extremely simple to know if you're going to make a non-conventional wand or a conventional, just because it's pretty simple, right, guys? It's simple. Hopefully you guys understand, and hopefully it's... You know, the final style of wand is a little bit more complicated, just because, you know what, it's not really complicated. It's just a little bit different than the other ones. Basically, the different characteristics of the wand just make them heavy, as in more of one than the other. The ratio's off, but it's heavy in one side of the ratio. This guy right here. This is a pommel heavy. Pommel heavy is the probably most... common style. Basically all it means is that the one, you would hold the wand more towards the pommel, because that's where most of the weight is going to be, and it would feel better. If you have something like this, you can't really hold it this way. It doesn't feel right. So what we're talking about is pommel heavy for this. And here we have another pommel heavy. Remember I said pommel heavy is usually the more common style, but you can see that it is bigger, it gradually gets bigger, but also most of the weight is put here. So therefore, when you're holding it, just like when you're holding this one, it just feels better to hold it towards the end as opposed to in the middle somewhere. Just your hand has nowhere to really sit comfortably. So you're really going to be holding it more like this, swishing it around more like this, as opposed to controlling it with your finger. It's more of a wrist thing. It's the best way to describe it. Since we have these two, let's jump over to Miss Goldstein's wand over here, which I would consider also a pommel heavy. As you can see, the handle itself is very short. Anything that you would consider a handle, which would basically be here. So this wand, you would 100% hold it here. Hold it very, very at the base, at the pommel side of the wand itself. So I'd say that out of the movie wands, this is probably the best adaptation of a pommel heavy or any sort of heavy wand. This explains the best style. If you look at another wand here, so this one, it looks like it has a big handle over here, which yes, you can hold it, right? You can hold it here if you want. I would say it does a much better job of holding the wand here. You would feel a lot more comfortable if you hold it towards the end more, as opposed to up at the top. Now, if we look at Voldy's wand, it's a little bit of a mixture, because it has this nice bulbousy end here. It does have a guard, but I would say it's on the verge of being pommel heavy. And one, Voldemort does hold his wand like all the way at the end. Technically, if you were to look at it, it is a conventional style wand. It does have all the parts in pretty much the correct ratio, just like Harry's wand. So if we look here, we have a very, very similar design when it comes to ratios. So we have the pommel, we have the guard, we have the handle, almost exactly the same length, and then we have this actual part right here. Like I said before, with this, it's supposed to be the inside of the actual bark. This is just stylistic and looks super cool here, but you can tell that they're very similar. You can tell that they are related wands, at least their cores. But could consider this a heavy, but I really wouldn't. I would go more of a conventional style for that guy. And here we have an excellent example of a guard-heavy wand. Guard and handle-heavy, I would say. Mostly the guard. The guard is the main part that you would see. This wand is not to be held like this. It is this style right here. So you hold it up at the top. You hold it very high up. You basically have less than half of the wand in front of you to actually cast. I mean, obviously you can hold it down here too, but as you can tell, you would never hold this wand this way. So therefore, I would never consider it a traditional or heavy, pommel heavy or anything like that. I would definitely say this is a guard heavy wand. And obviously, it's kind of tough. You can't really have a blade heavy wand, because if you have a blade heavy wand, you just pretty much are left with something like this, which is mostly blade running all the way down. You can say that the blade ends here, but, you know, not really. If you have a blade heavy wand, this is a pommel heavy, but you still have a lot of blade. I would say that anything could be a heavy except for a blade heavy. There's no such thing as a blade heavy, because there just isn't. All right, to go over this lesson, remember we have 4 different style wands, with one of them kind of being a wild card, where it can have different styles. If it's a different style, it's gonna feel different in your hand, and knowing the style of wand is somewhat important, but it's also more important when you're designing the wand, when you're drawing up your wands, which will be most likely the next lesson, will be designing and figuring out how to make certain things and knowing your tools so that you could design something that you can actually make. So that's going to be the next lesson, hopefully. If you guys end up liking this, if this video gets up to, let's say 50 likes. If we get 50 likes on this, I will start working on that next video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully you guys like Harry Potter and like some Harry Potter wands. If you guys actually want to submit, because remember, we do we do wand reviews on this channel as well. So I will be working on one of those soon as well. That's gonna be a separate video. And then we also have new wands. I do have a few wands that I've been teasing you guys during the live streams. And I've shown you guys a work in progress that I have. But thank you guys for sticking in there and watching this video. And I hope you guys enjoyed. And I hope you guys now learned something about wands and are able to categorize your wands. I would love to see some of your guys' wands. If you guys want to send them over to newwandsday@gmail.com, and I will definitely check those out. I have a few that I haven't shown you guys yet, and that video will hopefully be coming out in the next couple of weeks. Also, if you guys want to submit your, where is it? If you guys want to submit your wands ready picture, basically it's just a picture of you holding your wand like this. Could be one that you made, could be one that you got from the shop, could be one of any wand, doesn't matter. Just straight serious, you know, you looking all cool and stuff. You could be happy, whatever. You could be making a goofy face. It doesn't really matter. If you guys want to submit those pictures so that you guys could join Ender's army, if you guys want to do that, just send them over to that same email, newwandsday@gmail.com. I always have to remember what it is because I don't want to mess it up for you guys until I send you guys somewhere else. So submit your wands there and submit your Ender's army pictures to there as well. And maybe in the next New Wands Day, I'll share those with you guys. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm glad to be back finally making some more wand videos. We took a little break, but we're back, and hopefully from now on, we're going to be better than ever. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. To see you guys in the next video shortly, soon, hopefully. Love you guys. Bye, bye, bye.